Good morning, Modern Steaders. So, yeah, I did a thing. We need to finish chipping our road, and we've been using our little toe-behind chipper. It takes 6-inch brush. It does a really good job, but it is slow. We have about a half a mile worth of brush to chip, and I'm going to say we did maybe like a quarter of that over 3 days. So I decided to rent a 6-inch Bandit chipper. So this one is a self feeder. This lever right here, when it's running, you push it one way and it turns the feeding wheel, so it sucks it in. You pull it the other way and then it'll back feed it. These right here are safety features. If for some reason you go in the chute, you yank on these and it makes the feeder wheel reverse and shoots you back out. This one has a Kohler 37 horse motor, direct drive, and then you have your hydraulic feed wheel, but the chipper blade itself is direct drive. Your chute can go either direction. I'm trying to think what else. It's gas powered. This one is gas powered. I'm not sure too much info on this motor. I know it's a Briggs and Stratton. The chipper will take 5-inch round wood. It's not really a self-feed-ish. It is. Like, you put it in, gravity feed will take it and pull it down, but you got to go up and in. This one, you just kind of go right in. So I'm hoping this is going to be a lot quicker. I've always wondered if a toe-behind homeowner one works just as well as a professional one. So today we are going to find out. It makes really good chips. It does a really good job chipping. I was chipping some 5-inch round white birch, yellow birch, alders, and stuff like that, and it was doing a good job. It is just slow, and we have a lot to chip. So I'm curious to see how this one does. So let's go get down below, set up. But before we do that, let's check on the chickens that we put into the chicken tractor yesterday. If you are just tuning in for the first time, me and my wife are building an off-grid farm in the woods right now. She is recovering from a surgery, so it's just me working. We have our off-grid house there, the solar panels. We started building 2 barns over there. We just need to work on our fence. Fence is ordered, should be here shortly. And the other day, I built a portable chicken coop for our chickens, and it was the first night they were here last night. How you ladies doing? It probably would help if I gave you some water, huh? It's filled up. I just forgot to take the screw off. Man, not cool. Not cool, Al, not cool. Do you ladies like it for your first night? You're all accounted for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it is raining. That's all right. We don't mind working in the rain. We're not gonna melt. So it looks like nothing tried getting into the chicken tractor last night, which is a good thing. We have a lot of bear and coyotes around here, so this is why we did this style chicken tractor, to make sure that the predators can't get in and eat our delicious chicken. That rain is starting to come down pretty good. So the other day we chipped from where the wood line starts to all the way down here. Then we did a little bit more down by the brook. Not a lot, and that took us 2.5, 3 days to get that done. So it'll be interesting to see how long it takes us to get the rest of this brush cleaned up. We have from here all the way down yonder. We are here up in the north, and we can be getting snow pretty much any day now. It's not going to stay around, but we can definitely get it. So we need to get the side of our road cleaned up before we have to stop plowing, because plowing with that stuff right there wouldn't be any fun. All right, we can move this chute. We'll get it blowing right here, lock it in place. I am hoping to make some nice piles so that way we can use them in future projects, because we're gonna need them. I think that's it. We just gotta get it running. All right, so far we've run it for 2 hours. We've used just over a half a tank of gas, and we've been running it full throttle the whole time. It is almost stalled out, I don't know, a couple of times. The feed roller has gotten stopped at least a dozen times. I set aside a lot of the stuff that was stopping it. If you put through shorter pieces of wood, when it gets to about that size, sometimes they break off and they don't go through. And a lot of times I'm finding it's dead wood that does that, but it's not always dead wood. This was a live yellow birch. So I find if you can run another branch behind it quick, like as you're feeding that one before you get to the end, feed in another branch like this, it'll keep it going. It's been going a lot quicker. I have gotten, I don't know how far, but way up past those birches all the way down here to here. So I'm gonna guess we're about halfway done. So in a couple more hours, I should have it finished. And then before we finish, I will get the other chipper out and we'll kind of do like a side-by-side comparison. One thing I am noticing, the chips that it's making are smaller and stringier. I feel like the smaller chipper was making nicer chips, but we'll do a comparison side by side afterwards. But man, it is cleaning up nicely. Noise level, it is not quite as loud as the smaller chipper. It's still loud, just not quite as loud. Fuel wise, I'm gonna say it probably uses the same amount of fuel because this one's used half of that, and that's probably holds 5 gallons. So I am wet. It didn't rain very long, but it rained just enough to get that brush soaked. So now every time we touch a piece of brush, we're getting wet. I have noticed that the feed rolls make a big difference. It makes it take the brush in a lot quicker. I can throw a piece in and walk away, and I don't have to sit there and feed it. I don't think this would keep up with 2 guys. Sometimes I'm having to wait a second before I can throw in my next batch. So if you're gonna have a 2-guy crew doing something, you'd probably want a bigger one. This is a 6-inch Bandit model number 65 XP. There we go. Not completely done. We're gonna have to finish it up in the morning. The rain is on its way back. And we are almost out of gas. So we've used quite a bit of gas today. It says 1/4 of a tank. So I'm guessing we used 5 or 6 gallons. So I'll have to get some gas tonight, get it fueled up, and we can see the end. It's in sight. It's just down yonder. You can see on the road the patches where I chipped before, so it's just right before that. Few things I've learned so far is it doesn't like the wood like just straight 6 inches, or not even 6 inches, but just the big wood. It's not a fan of it. And even the branches, if you put too many branches in at once, it doesn't like it, especially the ends, say like the white birch, how they're very stringy. It doesn't like doing too many of those at once. I'm assuming those kind of get caught up in it. And same with the pine. It's not a fan of the pine. I was kind of surprised. Good morning, Modern Steaders. It is a nice chilly morning. 41 degrees out right now. It's only supposed to be in the 50s today, so this is perfect weather to finish chipping. We got from this tree down just to about where you see the brown on the road to chip, but we're not going to do it all with this chipper. I'm going to get most of this done, and then we'll get the other chipper out and we'll do a time comparison to see which one is quicker. I think that's about the only thing this chipper has on the chipper that I own, is this one's faster, but I'm curious to see how much faster. I could stall this one out with just a few handfuls of brush at once, and this brush is not very big. I could probably take a clump, say this clump, put it in there, and it would stall that chipper out. And it's not able to do anything bigger than the brush that we have here. Say like that big pine. It's about the biggest I've noticed that this can do. We have almost stalled it out 2 or 3 times with that bigger stuff. Just, it's not over 6 inches, just putting it in, letting it go in on its own, and it'll stall it out almost. It is a little chilly this morning, but it's not going to take long before we warm back up. Earplugs and earmuffs. right, so in real time, that last load took 7 minutes and 33 seconds to chip. That was pretty good. So now we have from here to here, and I'm gonna go get my DR Power tow behind chipper and see how long that takes. It'll be interesting to see. Now that was chipping and cleaning up the area with all the little small pieces. So I'm gonna do the same thing over here, and then we'll see how long that takes. It's gonna be interesting to see. Let's check out these chips and see what these chips look like. So these chips are pretty small. Some of them are a little stringy or long, I guess, like this. But overall, they're pretty small. The knives are probably getting dull because they're not big chips. A lot of them are smaller. All right, so now we have the DR Power 575. We don't know what horsepower motor that is, but it's supposed to take up to 5 3/4 of an inch of a piece of wood. So all of this stuff in here, it should chip. The big thing is I want to see how long it takes this chipper to do that much versus the last chipper. So let's get this one fired up, and then I'll put it to the test and see how long it takes. Before we start the DR chipper up, which one do you think is going to win? All in all, I am pretty shocked. I didn't think it was going to be that close. So 15 minutes, 12 seconds. So it's just almost double the amount of time, a little bit more than double the amount of time with the DR versus the Bandit. The biggest thing I would say with the Bandit is it has the self feeder, so you can just put it in, walk away, and it's just like waist high and you shove it in straight. This, you got to lift it up and over, so if you have long pieces or big pieces, it's a little awkward. But I put some good sized wood in here and just walked away. I'm like, I'm not gonna stand there, I'm just gonna go. And then I filled that hopper up as much as it would take on that last load and just kept jamming it. It didn't stall out. I am very impressed. The DR chipper will do just as much as the Bandit would do, in my opinion. The Bandit might do a little bit more, but this will keep up. It's just the speed of it. So ease wise, I'm gonna give it to the Bandit because you don't have to lift it up. Speed wise, the Bandit definitely takes it. Compactness, this takes it. This is like a quarter of the size as the Bandit. Price wise, I think this is, I'd have to look. I don't know what the price of a new Bandit goes for. If you know, leave it in the comments down below, and then I'll have to check to see what the new pricing on the DRs are. And I'm gonna have to look. I'll try to put it right here. There's no horsepower rating on this motor, but I don't think it's, I know it's not a 37 horse. So it'd be interesting to see horsepower wise what the two different motors are. But this would take anything that we could throw at it, and it didn't stall out on me, at least. The Bandit never did, but it almost did a couple of times. So I'm actually impressed that the DR with the small size can keep up with the Bandit. Just time-wise, it can't. I think a lot of that is the self-feeder, and the Bandit is a self-feeder, and that's all hydraulic. So the motor, I'm sure, has to do a lot with, they need that bigger motor size to run the hydraulics of the self-feeder. But I'm kind of surprised how close they are in comparison if you take the time part out. If the Bandit wasn't a self-feeder, it would probably be the same. I don't know. I wouldn't think that a professional chipper would have been that close to a homeowner chipper. Same size, like that Bandit's 6 inch, this is 5 3/4 of an inch. So comparable, they're there. So I'm impressed. Let's check out the chips. So these chips, I would say, are just as small, maybe a little bit bigger as the Bandit. I would say maybe a little bit stringier on the branches is what I would say. But I don't know, I wouldn't have thought it would have been that close in comparison. I'm surprised. That definitely surprises me. We'll definitely be using this chipper for smaller jobs, but if I have another big job that's this long, I will be renting another chipper, kind of thing. That's the only thing that the Bandit has, is the speed. I would love to try out a bigger one. I don't think you can rent any bigger than a 6 inch. So if anybody works for Bandit or another chipper company and they want to let me demo one, email is down below, and I would love to try out a bigger chipper and see how they are speed wise, and kind of like, can you just throw it, and how big of a branch will it take, and can you just walk away? I'd love to try that. So we have seen the bigger chippers that the loggers use, and they'll just take any tree. It's amazing what they'll chip up. So